Warning, due to some language and subject matter, listener discretion is advised.
It's terribly understated how much a positive community can be built around the right communicator. Whether it be a fighter, a coach, a comedian, or a radio broadcaster, recently on my show, there has been a reoccurring theme about people taking huge bets on themselves. This episode and guest fall right in line with that. I met my next guest a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away when he was a student in a local radio broadcasting program on the college radio station. 18 years later, he is a well-known morning show host who has just made a huge leap to one of Omaha, Nebraska's largest and most well-known radio stations. Joining me on the show today is my old friend Jason Spicoli, and he answers any questions you might have about what led to his big decision. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Caught on the Mic. Ladies and gentlemen, I am talking to an old friend of mine. Spicoli, how the hell are you, man?
Dude, I haven't seen you since the early 2000s.
And we're old men now, but we don't look it.
No, we have nice hair. We can thank our significant others for that.
Yeah, it's been a long time. Life paths kind of take you on your own little journeys. It's kind of like a Y, a little fork in the road. And man, it's been exciting to watch you from afar.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's been a heck of a journey. You know, it all started at Iowa Western Community College. I went there to pursue a career in radio. And, you know, I started there in 2001, was a student, learned the ins and outs of radio. And then I was set and ready to graduate in 2003, right? So I was ready to go. I was ready to go out. I was interning with Todd and Tyler at the time with them on Z92. So that was an experience. And then all of a sudden, the afternoon position came open at 89.7 The River, and I applied for it. And after I applied for it, I sent a thank you note. Of course, I was going through the program and everything. And before you know it, they're like, hey, what separated you from everybody else was the thank you note. So you're hired, you're doing afternoons, and let the journey begin. So 2003 afternoon on the river, afternoon fiasco. And then all of a sudden, the morning guy who you know, Capone, you know him really well. You were at his wedding. I was at his wedding. You know, he ended up leaving. And so they were like, yo, let's test you out in the morning. And they're like, it's just a 2-week trial run. I'm like, all right, 2-week trial run. Good. Cause I don't like waking up early. And 18 years later, hosting Spicoli's Morning Fiasco, still on a trial run. So I got hired my last day. That was the joke. You got hired your last day. You're officially hired. You can stay now. But by then it was too late. It's too late. I'm gone. I'm out of there.
Absolutely. And what a journey it's been, because, you know, the audience is probably going to be listening to this a few days after we record it, but it's the night before Thanksgiving. I think probably for close to 18 years, you had plans the night before Thanksgiving every year, didn't you?
Yeah. Concerts, tons of concerts. We did concerts like Local Feast, supporting local music out at what was then Sokol Underground, you know, but the name has changed. They have started their new journey. But yeah, we did a bunch of concerts there, man. Local Feast, supporting local music. That was a big thing that we were into at 89.7 The River. And in fact, you were on my show one time.
Yeah, I was on your show several times. I mean, and I think there were some different shows that you guys were experimenting with, like on Friday nights and Saturday nights, and we even dropped in and did that. Back in the day, I used to run around with Flum, and I used to run around with Capone quite a bit. So,
yeah.
Gosh, those memories, it kind of churning up the nostalgia a little bit. 18 years. Over that period of time, when do you think that you found your voice as a morning show host? And when did you think the show itself found its voice? And which happened first?
Ooh, that's a loaded question. There's a lot to unpack there. You know, like I said, I kind of just got thrown into mornings. I really didn't know what to do. And so I had a lot of fails. And the main thing I was taught was whenever you tell a story, beginning, middle, and end, and know how to get out. So once I learned that, I started with the basics and I started working my way, and everything just kind of snowballed from there in a positive way. Because I was just so hungry to learn the craft of radio and telling a good story and getting involved with the community. And it just kind of, it just kind of kept growing and growing, and it became this big hit. It took a couple of years. I got a lot of hate mail, but I learned quick. And I think that's, something, if you're open to it when you're in radio, you got to come in with an open mind. You got to have a thick skin because people are coming after you. I dub my audience the world's most dangerous audience because, man, they came after me. They knew when I sucked and they knew when I was hot. So it was wild, man. It was fun. There were some times when I thought I would give up on radio because people are coming after me, but overall it was a good learning experience, and how to do the craft and get really good at becoming a storyteller and a communicator and being involved in your community and doing exciting things and, creating magic.
Do you know the exact moment when you had that turning point in your career when you kind of like, okay, this is the rhythm. This is how I should be doing it.
It reminds me of starting to do interviews with like rock stars. My first big one was Andrew WK. Right. Dude comes in, party hard. I mean, he stunk though so bad. And I was trying to interview him, and MTV was in there, man. They're recording us, and part of that made MTV. And I was just like, man, like, you might be the stinkiest dude I have ever met. And he's like, you know what I do? He's like, after I play a show, I put my clothes in the freezer and then take them out right before I hit the stage. And then when I'm done, put them back in the freezer. And I'm like, you never wash them? He's like, no, I don't wash them.
My goodness.
And then a couple of weeks later, I had the Australian band Jet. They come in studio and they're cranking their guitars, they're tuning up, they're ready to play. And I was like, oh, you guys ready to crank one out? And they said, what kind of radio show is this? Where we're from, to crank one out means, crank one out.
Yeah.
So, I was like, wow, man, what a time. So everything just kind of, I was just being myself, and I was having fun, and I was just kind of learning my rhythm. So it was just those kind of moments that I was like, wow, I can just get in my vibe, have fun with these guys, and just kind of open them up.
Right. Yeah. And you did interview tons and tons of people. Did you ever feel intimidated?
Oh, all the time, man. All the time, especially if I really love the artist. Chester Bennington, rest in peace. Like, when he came on my radio show, like, it was like talking to a big brother. Like, he was just so open and so honest and so authentic, and just loved his fans, and talking about the energy that he wants to put out on the stage. And it was funny because his little kids are horsing around in the background. He's telling them, be quiet, I'm on the radio with Spicoli in Omaha, Nebraska. So it was those things where it was like, man, like, for him to just take time out of his day and come on the radio show and talk about an upcoming concert, I mean, that was just, an interview I will never forget, and an experience that I got with 89.7 The River, being there forever, and, my boss trusting me to be able to make a good interview, because that was important to me. And, I listened to some of the best interviewers out there, and I was like, I got to craft my own style. And it's something that I really thrived on was, interviewing all of these artists and hearing their story.
Yeah. I can totally relate to that. Coming off of a year like we've had, actually, it's almost 2 years at this point. Reconnecting with people, I think, is so important. Making connections new again, old connections new again, like you and I right here, right now.
It's awesome.
Plus, meeting up with new people. Everybody's got a story. I tell a lot of the people that I mentor is, you are an individual, but so is everybody else. And you have to recognize that. And I think that's one of the most rewarding things that guys like yourself and me now as a podcaster that we get to experience. So what would you say is probably your most rewarding experience in interviewing somebody?
Just sitting down and talking to them, and and then getting to know their story, like hearing about, having Corey Taylor of Slipknot and Stone Sour on, and like how he worked at a love shop. He worked at a love shop before making it big in Slipknot, and hearing that story. It's like the humble beginnings, where you have to start and the grind you have to put in. And then once you get in, and then you have to maintain that, and just learning about the process and the struggle. I've had so many different bands in studio and heard their stories. It's just mind blowing, like the sacrifice that it takes to get to finally be up on the main stage in front of people. And that's kind of what I like to hear is like, what was the journey like? What did you have to sacrifice? What does it take? I mean, because all of them will tell you this is not easy. This is not for everybody. You're going to miss Christmas. You're going to miss Thanksgiving. You're going to miss time away from the family. You're going to tour all across the country, and you're not going to be around much. But you know what? You're living your passion. You're living your dream. And every ounce that you put into that, hopefully it pays off. And for some bands, it does. And some bands, it doesn't.
Right, right. So during this time, how has terrestrial radio changed in comparison to that?
Yeah, terrestrial radio, you got to adapt. You got to adapt to the times, and you got to use social media like yourself. You're a podcaster, social media is a big deal. So, roping people in like on social media and getting them to tune in. That's one big way that terrestrial radio has changed. And to me, you doing a podcast is similar to radio. Like radio has different elements. I feel like, when you go live on Instagram or live on Facebook, that's radio. When you go out and when you do these Zooms, like I always feel like it's all connected. Like it's all right, radio together. There's a piece of radio here and everywhere. And it's all multimedia. Like all of it is media, and it all works the same way. So you just got to learn to adapt, and, you grow with the times. And terrestrial radio is still alive. People are still tuning in. I've seen the ratings, they're excellent. So radio is still a big deal. And to be able to do morning radio for this long, it's been a pleasure. And you just grow with the times, and you adapt, and you see what's hot and what's working, and you go from there.
Yeah, for sure. Did you ever see the movie The Social Dilemma on Netflix, the documentary about social networking?
No, I have not.
Okay, you need to do yourself a favor and do it. The guy that's behind it, his name is Tristan Harris, and genius. Like, I love following this guy, ironically enough, on social media. But what it basically talks about is algorithms, and how that social media has actually kind of, and we've seen it in society, and I try not to talk about politics or anything overly sensitive on my show, just because, I like to try and maintain neutral ground here. But he talks about how certain groups become emboldened because of misinformation and such through social media, but a lot of it's algorithm based. And you talked about social media there. I've watched that movie for the sheer purpose of trying to reverse engineer the social media algorithm. It's like, how do you grow an audience when you have to rely so much on the Instagram, the Facebook, and really in the past year and a half, TikTok?
Doing exactly what you're doing. I've been watching you. You're doing everything right.
Thank you.
Hashtags, content, videos, pictures, tagging artists, going and commenting on other artists' platforms and saying, hey, I interviewed this person and you might like them because you like this band. Here's a link. So everything that you're doing, whatever Michael Clark is doing, you do.
I don't know if I have it quite figured out yet. Right now, it's still kind of in its litmus test mode. But I was going to say, with your new endeavor, there's a lot of new social media tied to your new morning show. Yeah. So I imagine that's kind of like you're almost to a certain degree back to square one. And that's got to kind of be exciting to a certain degree, isn't it?
Yeah, because for many years I was in charge of the social media, 89.7 The River, and when I first started there was it was nothing. It was nothing. So we took it and it just blew up, and that was, what the secret really was, is posting fun content, commenting back to people, talking to them, shooting the stuff, and connecting with them. And I think that's what we all want at the end of the day, is connecting. And now at my new radio station, Sweet 98.5, I'm taking the same thing that I taught myself over there and then applying it over here. And, it's working.
Yeah. The past few episodes of my podcast have, and it's been by accident, but maybe accidentally on purpose, I have featured a lot of people that have taken huge bets on themselves. Going back to this Sweet 98 thing, and we kind of stumbled over it without actually directly addressing it, is after 18 years with 89.7 The River, in mid-September, you left and you made the jump to Sweet 98. How hard was that decision for you, and how did that decision come about?
It was heavy decision, because I love the River. I spent all of my career there, built a whole audience, the world's most dangerous audience, and they were loyal. I mean, loyal. And I am super grateful But you know what? For the radio station that got me hooked on radio growing up was Sweet 98. And I told myself, if I ever get in a position where I could work for Sweet 98, I would do it. And the opportunity came up. And I mean, I talked to my wife about it. I talked to my family about it. I prayed about it. And I was like, I got to take a leap of faith. This is the radio station that got me excited about radio. And to be able to work at that radio station and host a morning show was, it hit me like a ton of bricks, and I had to take a leap of faith. And I think sometimes in life, you got to take a leap of faith, and you got to challenge yourself, and you got to try new things. And that's it. Like, the excitement started building, and I was like, you know what? I'm at peace with this decision of leaving what I created at the River and trying a whole new challenge with a whole new audience over at Sweet 98.5.
Yeah. To make a leap like that, you probably had to have a lot of like internal conversations, a lot of like talking to yourself early in the mornings or late in the afternoons or during that gym session where you're rehearsing what you're going to say, how you're going to say it, when you're going to say it. How has Jason at home versus Jason on air adapted to this decision?
Jason at home is still the same old dude, still married to my wife Emily, who's a hairstylist. We have 2 little boys, and it's like, when I'm at home, it's dad time. When I'm on the radio, it's let's get fired up and have some fun. So it's been a challenge. It's been a challenge, and I always like that challenge because it's always preparing. I mean, you're a podcaster, it's always preparing for the next thing you're going to talk about, the next thing you got coming up. So I don't know if I've really processed it too much because it was full steam ahead at 89.7 The River for 18 years. And then I had no days off. Literally, I resigned, put in my 2 weeks there. And then that came up. And then on Monday, I'm working for a brand new team. So and I've been working nonstop ever since. So there really hasn't been too much time to process it. I'm just going with the flow.
Yeah, I feel like anytime there's an instance of change in a person's life, you have that moment of nostalgia where you start replaying every single event that had gone on in the years prior. I know I find that every day, and this is going to sound cheesy as hell, but like when you look at your Facebook memories or you look at Time Hop or something along those lines, and you see pictures from years past, and then you instantly get transported to those moments. I think when life changes occur, it's almost makes those moments more realistic. Were there any points in time where you've taken a step back and you looked at how much your life had progressed over those years, and how did that impact you?
Yeah, I just think that I was ready for a change because I had done so much and conquered so much at the River, I don't know, just doing all those events and growing up a little bit more, going through all that and doing concerts. And we did so many concerts. I mean, hundreds of concerts and big events and special things for the community. That was, so much fun. And taking a look back at it now when, those memories do come up on Time Hop or whatever, it's fun to look at. And, I still view those as a big success because we had people come out, they were entertained, they had fun, we got to make a connection with the community. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm happy about those experiences, but I always think forward, it's like, all right, what's next? What are we going to do? What's the next step? And it's tough for me to kind of like look back because I'm always focused on what's next. And, we got a lot of exciting things coming up with Sweet 98.5 that I'm so, fortunate to be a part of and help build and help, bring the station back to some exciting things again, and being part of that is, special. So for me, I always feel like I need to be looking forward.
Yeah. Windshields versus rear view mirrors, right?
Yeah. That's how it's always been, man. Always.
Yeah. So how do you maintain balance outside of work whenever you're trying to, make these decisions, and like, what do you do? How do you relieve your stress?
Work out, train, go to the gym, lift heavy weights, squat, bench press, do some cardio, get that stress out, get just that negative energy out. When I start to feel tired and cranky and I'm not feeling creative, I just, have to go to the gym. And then when I'm at the gym, pick up the boys and roughhouse a little bit, get that fountain of youth going, and just try to be a good dad for my kids,
Yeah. Did the pandemic and the whole COVID-19 experience, had that messed up your gym schedule at all?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I turned my garage into like the worst gym ever, like with 20-pound dumbbells and yoga mats and just, push-ups, pull-ups, light dumbbells. I think that's when I lost a lot of weight. I wasn't eating as much. I was, everything just kind of changed. And I don't know. It was hard. It was really hard for a lot of people. And going through that, you just kind of make do and you try to stay healthy and safe and keep your family safe and not put yourself in a position to get your family sick. So yeah, it was hard. It was hard to do all that, but you just gotta make do and try to stay positive.
Yeah. Being transparent and vulnerable between friends, like, man, it messed me up pretty bad. I think the couple months before the big lockdowns and the shutdowns occurred, I think I was in probably some of the best shape I had ever been in. I was at the gym every single day. It was more a rare occurrence for me to miss the gym than for me to be at the gym. And it's almost 2 years later, and I'm still like roller coastering. It's like I'll be on a stretch where it's like, yeah, I'm kicking ass. And then I'll be on a stretch where I'm like, man, I'm struggling. I just can't do it. And I did the same thing. I converted my garage into a gym, but I found working out at home, it's easier to skip and easier to pass up than actually going to a physical gym.
I still needed it though. I still needed that 45 minutes to an hour, because we had just had a baby and, I was still going to the radio station. Like, we worked it out so we could still do a live show Monday through Friday. And we were still going there and doing that. And then coming home, like I just needed that little bit of relief, whether it was just doing jumping jacks or running around the block a couple times, just getting that out because, when I'm here, it's dad time. It's like, and you have two little kids, they want all the attention. So, just you had to do what you had to do to survive.
You're pretty open about your family life and what your wife does for a living and the boys. How has this experience kind of affected them and in their lives?
Emily's like, you don't have to see your listeners every day. So whatever you say on the radio and when they come in the salon, they tell me good or bad.
Right. Yeah, for sure. My wife jokes around because, she's self-employed stylist here in Lincoln, and she always jokes around that she's the mayor of Lincoln. So she's like, man, you got to be careful how you are because of my day job, how you are to some of your customers or some of the things that you say, because I might have to answer for these things at some point in time. So that's funny stuff, man. That's funny stuff. How much did the family play a part in your decision?
A huge part. It's like it was a big change. It was a huge change. And, I sat down with my wife and I gave her the pros and the cons. And I told her what I wanted to experience over at Sweet 98.5 and what I had conquered over at 89.7 The River. And I mean, she was in full support. Whatever I thought was best at the end of the day, she had my back. And that's something I need, right? Sometimes you need a little bit of push to try new things because, and I was telling her, my dad passed away in 2012 in an accident. He fell off a ladder in December and bumped his head. And unfortunately, that was it for him. And I look back at that moment and it was heartbreaking because he was the core of our family. And, I just realized like you only get one life. You only get one life and you have to make the most of it. And I believe I made the most of everything I had. I mean, I put blood, sweat, and tears into the river and I had so much fun there and had so many awesome opportunities. But also there's this other radio station that got me excited about radio that is now knocking on my door and saying, hey, we have a position open for you. Would you want to come over here? And I was like, weighing back and forth because I love the river and I also love Sweet 98.5 and ultimately the pros were just over here and I was like, I got to do it. I got to take that leap of faith. And Emily's like, let's do it. And she was on board. And I told my mom, I talked to my mom and she's like, you're absolutely right. Dad would want you to do, what's best. And you're right. You only live once and you want to make the most of every opportunity. And, when the iron is hot, you got to strike.
Right. And there is kind of a growth cycle that I think we all have naturally. And to be quite honest with you, and I mean this as a sincere compliment, not anything less than that. I'm actually surprised it didn't happen a lot sooner. I'm surprised this didn't happen 5, 6, 7 years ago, like before kids.
Yeah, there's, to be honest with you, there's been a lot of opportunities.
I
lot of opportunities all across the country. So it just had to be right, and like I said, I love the river so much, and I love my radio show, and I felt good there, every day. I wake up at 2:50. I would be at the radio station at 4, preparing for it and going on to the air 6 to 10. And I live for that every day. And it just got me excited, and nothing could pull me away. I mean, not money, not another radio station. Everything was exactly where I wanted to be at that time of my life. And so opportunities would come up, and, things would come up because I got a lot of friends in the industry, and, they're always looking. Everybody is connected, and,
right.
And that's just the way it is. And just nothing really punched me. And, the Sweet 98.5, when they came knocking, it just kind of bonked me on the head and was like, you know what? Take a leap of faith. So here we are.
So I know and not to contradict ourselves, I know we just basically made the statement, windshields, not rear view mirrors. But if you could go back in time and talk to your 18-year-old self, what would you tell him?
Stay the course. Don't get sidetracked. Too many things that can take you off course. But honestly, I was so once I turned 23 and got that position at the river, I was focused on radio. Before that, not focused on anything, just kind of bumbling around, doing this and that and the other. But once I found my focus, and my focus was radio, honestly, I believe it saved my life, because I was stupid, young and stupid, and just too spontaneous and wild, and, was a party guy. And I think finding my focus, and then ultimately getting mornings, you can't party on that, it's tough to go out and be crazy that young. And so I think that saved me, because I had to go to bed by 8 to get up by 2:50 and at the radio station by 4 a.m. So ultimately, I think that saved me and helped me and kept me centered and focused. But when it came to the weekends, we were living it up, right, Mike?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. But that's a really good point, because I think it's a matter of finding your why. And you were very lucky in the fact that you found your why in your earlier 20s, because a lot of guys don't find it until their late 20s or even early 30s. And I can attest to that personally. It wasn't until I had kids that I really found that moment of focus where it's like, okay, you can't live this lifestyle anymore. It's time to bear down and be career guy. I made a video not too long ago that I shared on social media, and I talked about the human cliff, because I've been reading a lot about that, about the age of 22, 23, where you're kind of in that phase of life where you're watching all of your friends graduate college, you're graduating college, you're watching your first set of friends get married. And yeah, that's a huge turning point, isn't it?
Yeah, for me, I waited until my 30s. I saw all my friends get married and have babies, and it goes back to my dad. My dad passed away in 2012, and I was just, dating Emily at the time, and I realized, dude, life is so short. My dad was in his early 50s, and now he's no longer here, and I was like, what am I doing? I'm in my 30s. I have this wonderful woman who loves me and does anything I could possibly want for me. So that's when I was like, it just bonked me on the head, a year later, I proposed to her. And then a couple of years after that, we had a baby, and then now we have 2. And so I just think this is where I'm supposed to be right now, married with 2 kids and a family guy, on a new radio station that's very family friendly. So, all of it, you just kind of go with the flow. And when opportunities, I don't know, I just feel like I just see things differently now,
Yeah, for sure. And one of the things that I think is really endearing, just watching through social media, is it really appears that she is probably your biggest cheerleader in life.
Yeah. Emily has always supported. She is here through thick and thin. And my calming voice. If I am a little stressed out or whatever, like if I can talk to her about anything, and she'll slap me around a little bit, she will set me straight. And that's somebody I need in my life to help me grow, to push me going forward, to be a good dad to the kids, a solid husband. And so she's been awesome for me. And I thank her every day. And I always let her know she's the funny one in the relationship. I take all her good material. So if I ever make you laugh on the radio, it's because of her. I steal everything from her.
Yeah. That's the same thing in my household, man. It's totally the same thing in my household. And I know, like, admitting that is usually people only admit that their wife is like their North Star if they're trying to be chivalrous. But I think we're at a point in society where we just gotta, as men, kind of be like, yo, dude, I don't think I'd be able to do all this if it wasn't for my wife,
Right. I mean, Emily, for me, is, man, she's been amazing. And like, you're right. I'm my number one cheerleader and everything I could ask for. I mean, she's that and then some. So yeah, it's been a great relationship for me, for sure.
So what's something that people might misunderstand about you?
Man, I feel like I've been an open book. I don't know. Some people probably think that like I'm this big party guy because I wear shades all the time, but I'm not a big party guy anymore. That was a while ago, and I'm totally a family dad. I'm all in on being a dad. I think it's one of the coolest things ever. Spending time with my kiddos, roughhousing, playing baseball in the backyard, like really, just that like I'm a dad, and it's a lot of fun, and kids are honest with you, like kids have no filter, and that's what I love the most, man. They keep it real.
Dude, I got to tell you, I am super proud of you. I said that to you in a private message. I didn't want to get all up on the Facebook and post it for the world to see because I thought it was very important that I said that to you private, man to man. And I'm glad we can kind of look at each other and I can tell it to your face right now. Your journey has been amazing. It's been fun to follow along with. Where can my audience find you online?
Yes, you can follow me, Jason Spicoli, on Facebook. You can go to Instagram. It's J Spicoli Radio. You can go to Twitter at Jason Spicoli. I mean, TikTok, Jason Spicoli Radio. So, I mean, anywhere and everywhere. If you just need to Google it, Jason Spicoli. You can also listen Monday through Friday now Monday through Saturday. On Sweet 98.5. Yeah, I'm even doing Saturdays now. They got me working on Saturdays.
Oh my goodness, man. When are you going to get a break?
No breaks, no rest for the wicked, my man. You know how it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, I think we need to do this again sometime. What do you think?
Hey, I'm on board, dude. It's been a lot of fun, and you're getting really good at interviewing. I've been watching episodes in the past. Like, where did this Michael Clark come from?
I've always had this ability to bullshit. I'll be honest with you. Like I've had social anxiety my whole life. Like being up on stage was my way to cope with social anxiety. Like there was the guy that was on stage and there was the guy that was off stage, and they were two different people. So I've had to kind of figure out, how do I make those two people be one person? And thank you very much.
What's the secret? What's the secret? How do you do it?
Honestly, I think it's a lot of conversations with myself. I drive to and from Omaha from Lincoln a lot. Okay. Sometimes I do it in dead silence, and I just kind of think things through my head. Okay, I would like to talk to this person. How would that conversation look if I was talking to this person? What would I want to ask them? What kind of things could they tell me that I could take away and apply to my own life? And so
you're a thinker, man. You're a thinker. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. So it's like, how do I apply that to my own show to where that appeal can like translate to a totally different audience? Maybe the same people that followed me when I was singing in bands, or maybe people that are new just because I'm interviewing a lot of fighters and doctors, and it's crazy. It's been rewarding.
I love it, man. You're what you're thinking in your head, you're applying and you're putting it out there for the world to hear. And what you're doing, man, I'm happy for you, dude. This is cool. Podcasting is a part of radio. I've always respected podcasters and how they kind of put it all in their own hands, and you bet on yourself, and you're doing great. You're doing everything that you could possibly do. You're blasting it all over social media. You're putting out great content. And I think a lot of people are going to have fun listening to the Michael Clark Show.
No, thank you very much. Thank you. Sir, it's been a pleasure. The world is a better place with you in it.
Back at you, my friend.
Let's do this again. Once again, I'd like to thank my old friend Spicoli for doing the show. It was a great time getting to catch up. You can find him every morning on 98.5 on your radio dial, or you can look up Sweet 98 online, and I'm sure you can listen to him there. Make sure you're following him on all forms of social media. And while you give him a follow, make sure you give me a follow on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Look for Caught on the Mic. You can also Google it. All episodes of this podcast are now available at www.caughtonthemic.com. Check out some of the past guests, and hopefully there's something you can take away from it. Once again, we're knee-deep in the holiday season. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody, and I hope you have a good holiday season with your family and friends and everybody that's around you. This has been Caught on the Mic with Michael Clark. I'm Michael Clark. Until next time, thank you.